Welcome to the Techlearners. In today's lecture, we will talk about Java constructors and its types. Constructors are similar to Java member functions, but they are different in the purpose. The purpose is that constructors are used to initialize the objects to a legal initial values. So it provides the initial legal values to the data members and methods of a class. So it is also the member function of the class and has the same name as of the class. So this is the important thing, that the constructor has same name as of the class. Constructors do not have any return type, not even void. Like we have return type in our methods, but constructor do not have any return type. We will see this in a program. And the most important thing is the constructor is called at the time of object creation. Excuse me. So it is created at the time of object creations. So now let's see the types of constructors. There are three types of constructors. One, non-parameterized, second, parameterized, and third, default constructor. Basically, default constructor is a constructor that is created by the compiler itself when we do not write any constructor. Now let's see the example of a non-parameterized constructor first. Let's say we have a class student con, and in this class we have two properties, one integer with roll number and other string with name. Now this is the constructor definition. You can see that it is not having any return type like any other function. If you see here in the main, we have a return type void, and in other functions we also have return types, but in constructor we do not have any return type. Yes, we can add access specifications like public or any other, preferably public, but it do not have any return data type. Inside the constructor, we can give initial values to the class properties like roll number. We can assign an initial value to the roll number. Here I have assigned it -1, and to the name here I have assigned some initial value, let's say not assigned. So this is how we can define the constructor of a class. Two important things: the name must be similar, and as it is a non-parameterized, so the parameter list will be empty. So this list always empty. Now next thing, when we call this constructor, as we have seen that the constructor is called at the time of object creation. So let's say I have created in the main function the object of the class with the name S1. So here we have called the constructor student con. As this was a non-parameterized constructor, we do not need to pass any value into this. And then we can print the values of our properties of the class with the help of the object. We will see what the output will be of this. Now let's talk about the second type of the constructor, that is a parameterized constructor. In this you can see class name is same, the properties are same. Here the constructor having some parameter list. So we are passing two parameters to this, one integer type and one string type, and we have assigned these values to the class data members. So roll number is assigned to the parameter A and name is assigned to the parameter N. So this is how we write the parameterized constructor. Again, there will be no data type, return data type. To call this, we will use the object creation line, but now this time whenever we'll call the constructor, we need to pass equal number of parameters that we have defined into the constructor. So here we are passing one integer and one string value to the constructor, and these values will be assigned to the class properties, roll number and name. Then we can see what will be the output of these properties. The third type of the constructor is the default constructor, where actually we do not have to do anything. That means we do not write any constructor here, and the compiler will create the constructor by default and will initialize the properties with default values. Yes, the default value of roll number is 0 and the default value of the string is null. So the default constructor will initialize the values of these with default values. So here we have called this default constructor. So it is used whenever we do not create constructor of our own. Now let's go to the program and see how this is happening. Let's say this is a class student con with two properties, and here I have defined the constructor with the same name of the class student con. I have initialized with the roll number with value -1 and name with some string value Techlearners. Now when I create the object and I'll call the constructor, as this was a non-parameterized constructor, I am not passing any value to the constructor. Now I have printed these two properties with the help of the object s1.rollNumber and the other is s1.name. Now let's see what will be the output of these two. So this is the output. Roll number is -1, name is Techlearners. In this way we are initializing the properties of the class with some legal values. Now let's say what happens if we do not use this constructor. So let me comment this constructor. So I have commented this constructor, and now once we do not write any constructor of our own, the compiler calls the default constructor and assigns its properties the default values. So now let's see what will happen with this default constructors. Now what will be the values? So let me compile and show you the output, that when we use the default constructor, the values are automatically initialized with default values. So integer is 0 and string is null. Now let's see the third type of constructor, that is the parameterized constructor. So let me use a parameterized constructor here and pass values. I am passing here two values, one is int a and other is string, let's say n, and then I would like to assign these parameters to the actual variables. So we have assigned the values. Now you can see whenever we call the constructor, it will showing us to pass the value. So let me pass the value. I have passed roll number as 1 and then string, let's say Techlearners. So now these values, when we call the constructor, will be passed and the roll number will be initialized with 1 and name will be initialized with Techlearners. Now let's compile and see what will happen. So here you can see the roll number is 1, name is Techlearners. Now let me tell you one more thing, that what is the advantage of using the parameterized constructors. Let's say if you want to make more than one object with different values. So let's say if I make two objects s1 and s2, and if I want both to provide different values, let's say the s2 with roll number 2 and with name, let's say Tech. So this is possible with the parameterized constructor and is not possible with the non-parameterized constructor, because in non-parameterized constructor we have to assign single values that will operate for all the objects. Obviously, we can change these values later with the help of the dot operator, but if you want to call the constructor and initialize the properties with different values, then we need to have this parameterized constructor. So now let me show you. If I print the values of two different objects, so here I am making S2 roll number and this is S2 name. So I have printed S1 roll number, S1 name, S2 roll number and S2 name. So both the objects are having different initial values. So let me compile and show you the result. Yes, roll number is 1 for the first object, name is Techlearners, and for the second object S2, roll number is 2 and name is Tech by default initially. So this is the constructors and its type. I hope you have understood the constructors, that they are of the same name, have no return data type. They can be of three types: default, non-parameterized and parameterized, and they are called at the time of object creation. Thank you for the watching. I hope you have liked the video. Follow my playlist that will provide you all the videos of Java. So keep learning, subscribe the channel and ring the bell. Thank you so much.